I was so confused why people had such a hard time getting leads as a realtor, because every single person that you talk to in every single environment needs somewhere to live. I've never done any type of door knocking. I've never done any type of cold calling, ever, never. I would try to figure out how to meet them where they are. So in the spaces that they went, with the solutions to the problems that they had.
Right. Are you ready to get on the board? Welcome to the Get Off Go podcast. As normal, I've got my brothers here with me, Sean Jones and Joe Ha, and we're here to share our stories and just the stories of people just growing in business, growing in personal growth, and beyond. So today we have the star of A&E's hit TV show, Zombie House Flipping, and the driving force behind the House Flipping Academy, Flipside. So I would love to talk to her a little bit about that, but I'm telling you guys, she is making waves. She is unfiltered on her approach and completely unparalleled. So today we have Chauncey Pham in the building. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. That was a kick-ass intro. Like I feel like
I'm not gonna lie, I had a teleprompter.
Yeah, I feel like I need to have you walk around with me and introduce me to rooms. I love it.
There you go. There you go.
Let's go.
But yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you about this today because as we were kind of discussing previously, Joe is kind of brought us into like the real estate investing world, and it's kind of just opened up a whole new, like, on the social media side of things. I only work with realtors, but I'm on the here's what realtors post.
Yeah.
Joe is on the business, the money side of things, and I'm very fascinated on like the house flipping portion of it. So I mean, if you can kind of just give us a rundown on, well, like where did all of this begin? Like, have you always been in real estate?
No. So my background is in like hardcore one call close sales. I was the only chick, always surrounded by a bunch of guys. I was in the merchant services industry. I'm talking like boiler room situation, talking shit on the phone, under the desk. Like, it was crazy, right? And that's where I actually met my husband. So I'm a fast talking like sales chick. I went from that into marketing, and I was an account executive for a marketing firm. And so that's where I really learned a lot. So I was the liaison between our clients, which were typically large convenience store retailers and some fashion retailers. So BCBG, Guess, Circle K convenience stores, Quick Trip, Sunoco. Those were all my clients. And I got to learn a lot about consumer behaviors as it pertains to the retail space. And then started learning how to use that in the digital marketing space. And back then, when I had that job, I just had like a vlog about like, food. And I figured out that I could figure out how to get a following. So time progressed. I became a realtor, got into the business, and very quickly did well because I understood sales and marketing. That was my background. That's what I already did. And so went from that into investing, quite frankly, because all of the realtors that I worked with sucked. They didn't really think from a solutions standpoint. The only solution that they thought that they could bring to their clients is like, put it on the MLS, get as many offers as possible, the highest offer, as many showings. And I'm like, that's not what everyone needs. So I ended up connecting with a house flipper as a realtor when I first got started, like in my first 6-7 months. And I mean, he was cool. He made a lot of money. I saw it on the HUDs when we were going close, but he kind of was a bozo. And I went home and told my husband, like, if this guy can make this much money, like, I'm over here getting my little $7,000-$8,000 commission, which I thought was great, but I just saw this guy walked out with like $200,000. If he can do it, we can do it. So I actually talked to my husband, who is kind of a process engineer. He was a C-level executive at that time, and I talked him into leaving his job. And I'm like, babe, I'm telling you, if you...
That's a saleswoman right there.
If you can get in here, if I can work with these guys that have no plan, they don't know what they're doing, if I can work with them and they can make this kind of money with your brain and, your salesmanship, like, we can kill it. And so he quit his job November 1st, 2018. We picked up our first flip property in January of 2019, and it's been off to the races ever since.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I don't think many people talk about, like, not many people talk about the jump. That's the scariest part, is like leaving your 9 to 5 to get there. Like, I just recently, within like the last 3 years, took that jump. And it kind of feels like I'm a baby deer, right? Where I'm just like, I'm doing it. Like, I'm walking, just don't stop moving. I mean, what are some of the challenges that you faced right out of the gate? When just going full time?
Going full time, first, I kind of got to to move into it in a progression, right? Because I had a full-time job that I worked from home. And then
Okay.
while I still had that job, I became a realtor. So then I could go and do showings. I still had my jobs. I worked on the weekends as a
Mhm.
realtor. And then my husband was finally like, drop the job. Like, this one
Yeah.
commission is like 2 months worth of your pay. Just drop the job and then do, real estate full time. So then I did that. And then, it was very easy for me. It wasn't as jarring. But for my husband, it was very jarring because he went from, having a really good job to just not. But we are very systematic people. We're very strategic. So honestly, it wasn't that scary for us. When we make up in our mind that we're going to do something, we plan it out and then we execute the plan.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we did. I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, babe, if you're going to leave your job, we need to have this much money. We need to have this plan. We need to have this in place. We need to be able to figure out what our life is going to look like for the next 6 months. And so then we weren't really that scared. So I got out easy because, again, mine was kind of a progression. My husband just jumped, but he already had me in it to see kind of what it would look like. And so it was okay for us. I will say that leaving my job, which at the time I was making $3,000 a month at my job. Insurance was scary, and leaving that $3,000 a month was really scary. But once you shift your mindset, and I had someone tell me, Chauncey, break down how much money you're making per day. Look at it per diem. So if you're making $3,000 a month is what you're bringing home, take out your gas money, take out the money that you're spending on tolls, take out the money that you're spending eating lunch every day, take out the money that you're spending on childcare and
Yeah.
all of those things. And then that's really what you're making. And then take that number and divide it by 30. And that's really what you need to make a day. And when
Yeah.
most people will look at that, it's only like $65, 100, but like it's not some crazy number. And like you can go sell some taco plates like outside of the grocery
Yeah.
store and like make $50 a day. Like you can go get
Yeah.
some free shit on Facebook Marketplace and resell it and make $50 a day. And so that's what really helped me when I figured out that it was kind of per diem, that I was good. It was smooth sailing.
Yeah, I love that mindset because
Yeah.
it does seem impossible. And for whatever reason, a lot of the people that we talk to, at least like people my age or younger, that's a lot of our demographic is like, I'm trying to inspire the young hustler, not the hustler. Well, I guess I am trying to inspire the young hustler. I hate the word hustle because hustle is like hustlers don't know when their next check is coming, right?
Right.
But like someone like yourself who's built a system, who knows like, hey, this and this have to come into place, and there's going to be a check at the end of it. So yeah, that's a lot of their numbers like 10,000. There's something special about that number. I think it's just because there's another digit in there.
Right.
That's
There's
not
a ring to it.
there is a ring to it, yeah. But at the end of the day, like
Yeah.
if you do break that down, like bare minimum, what do I got to do just to be able to make it to tomorrow?
Right.
And that is, yeah, absolutely. So in this journey so far, like can you walk us through your first what was your first investment? Was it a flip? Was it like a wholesale? Was it
Yeah.
outside of the real estate side of things?
Absolutely. So when we jumped in, my husband immediately wanted to do flipping. He didn't really want anything to do with the wholesaling side. And so our very first deal actually turned out to be a wholesale deal. So we found a lady. So again, we had our processes in place. So when he quit his job, we already had our website set up with our long form. We had our sales funnel set up. We had an ads guy. So we were running ads, and those people were going to our website. They were filling out the long form, and then both of us would show up and talk to them. And if they, needed to get out fast, then he would offer them an investment offer. And then if they needed to list, then I could list the house because I'm a realtor, right? So we were just kind of this one-stop shop tag team type thing, good cop, bad cop. And so we went to this lady who had found our website, filled out the long form, and she was in dire straits because she tried to sell her house in the last like 2 years and got all the way down to closing, and a lien popped up. And the lien popped up for a consumer debt that she had, and her realtor and the title company at that point, I don't know why nobody told her, but she could have gotten that removed because this was her homestead. So nonetheless, she took the house off the market, and she reached out to us, a year later, and was like, if you guys can just make sure that I can walk out of here with like 40 grand, then like you can have this house. Like I want to be done. So I'll call my title person.
Yeah.
Long story short, we got it done. We bought the house for $125,000. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the house. We were going to put about 15,000 in it and then turn around and put it on the market for 215. Instead, I put it on the MLS. It's coming soon after we closed on it. And an investor that bought rentals in the area saw it in coming soon status, snagged it up for $192,000. And literally all we did was take our kids over to it with a Swiffer and some Clorox wipes, wiped it down. The backyard needed to be
Bro.
cut, but she left her refrigerator. So we traded the refrigerator for the guy to cut the backyard. That's all we did. Closed on it like maybe 10 days later and made the difference between the 125 and the 192.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All because you just went and did it. Even the refrigerator side of things, that's super cool too. Where you're just like, I don't know what I got. I'm not trying to put anything more into that.
Right.
Sorry, Joe, I interrupted you.
I got a question for you. I was just curious, like after you had like picked up your first win, what was that like, just to secure your first win with your husband, and how did that feel on the other end of that?
Man, it was wild. Like it felt great. And honestly, it was our first time even having that amount of money that quickly, like, and that easily. So the initial thought was, I mean, we were elated, like we're really excited about it. The second thought is, man, I've been dumb as hell for working in the capacity that I've been working all this time, and I could have been doing this. So, you know, that was kind of the next thing. And then the third emotion was hunger, because now I got a taste of blood, right? Like I can do this. Like, this is all I had to do. And like, okay, let's go. Like, let's ramp up these leads. Let's ramp up these calls. Let's ramp up these appointments. And so it was really exciting. But that was a pivotal moment. It really changed everything for us.
So Chauncey, that's awesome. First off, but you say you waited a year, and then this lady got in contact with you, right?
No, she
was that a
waited
year after the.
She waited a year.
Gotcha. Did you already take the jump to the investing side and waited that year till you got that first deal, or was it like before with your real estate, with your regular realtor job?
No.
Where that year started?
No. No. So when I said she waited a year, she had previously put her house on the market with a different realtor and had gotten it under contract, but it couldn't close because of the lien. And so then she was scared to try to sell it again, and some kind of way ran across our ad about a year later, clicked on the ad, and then we went and ran the appointment, and then we secured the deal for her and got it closed.
That's awesome. So what would you say to somebody who's looking to get into this? I know you've got Flip Side, right? Where pretty much this is your academy where you're teaching people to do exactly what you do, right?
Cool.
What sets this I see people all the time online that are just like, "Oh, I can help you do this and this and that." Can you explain a little bit about what sets Flip Side apart from some of these like YouTube people who are just like, "Hey, I'll show you how to do this, and I got a course for you"?
Yeah. A lot of things set us apart. First of all, we know what we're doing.
That's a good start.
Second of all, I'm not ever going to try to sell you. I'm not going to try to sell you on anything. We are very forthcoming. It's hard, right? Like, you have to be able to know how to sell. You have to have grit. You have to grind. There's a certain spirit about you that you have to get out here and be successful at this. So, I mean, the first thing that's glaringly different from us and everyone else is we're not ever going to lie to you, and we're not ever going to tell you what you want to hear, but we're going to tell you what you need to hear. Secondly, we take a hands-on approach. And so I find that this is really hard to learn as a business by just like listening to someone talk. A lot of these things you have to do, and you have to go through the processes and the different scenarios in order to know how to execute it. And I find that, a lot of what people out here are selling is hope, and what we're selling is actual hands-on experience. And so I'm not going to just tell you what to do. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to actually throw you out in the fire and make you figure out how to deal with some of these issues and come up with the solutions to these problems. And then that's some shit you're never going to forget. You're going to forget and zone out while you're walking on the treadmill, listening to my 30-minute course on, how to convert a lead. So our approach is just really different. And so what we hear from our students is that what they learn is really ingrained in them because they're living it instead of just watching it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exactly how I learned.
I've kind of been all about failing forward recently. And that's like somewhere I've been trying to work on in my life, is just kind of failing and taking that next step and taking that next step. So I love that new real world solution that you've been talking about. But I think that there's something that you've been successful in sales, successful in marketing, and now successful in home flipping and taking that jump. And it's probably got a lot to do with the attributes, like just as a person. What have been some of the main characteristics that you've built up over time that really resembles that grit, that hard work, and that work ethic that you've been talking about? What are some of the things within you that maybe you built up over time that have just been a difference, that have been able to make you successful in so many areas of
That's
your
a great
life?
question. I would say the number one thing, and most people already know this about me, is I struggled with alcohol. I had a really, really bad relationship with alcohol for a really long time, from like the time that I was maybe 16 until around 30, and I'm now almost 40, right? And I was able to quit cold turkey. What I find with people is that they don't have confidence, and they typically don't have confidence because they're cowards to even start something to conquer it. And so it tends to be this whole cycle of cowardliness and just being a coward. And so because you're a coward, then you never conquer anything. And because you never conquer anything, you're never confident. And if you're not confident, then it's really hard to
That's
like
deep.
walk into a room and think that you can tango with anyone. And I legitimately am delusional enough to think that I can tango with anyone. Like, teach me brain surgery, I fucking do brain surgery. Like, I can do it. And I have that because I was able to overcome something that was so difficult in my life. And I literally like just mind over matter, just overcame it. Like, and I did it, and it was hard. But I did that. And I think that if more people stepped outside of their comfort zone and stopped being cowards, and figured out that it's a lot easier to conquer things than what we think it is, then you'll get the confidence and, you know, have your ass up on your shoulders a little bit, have a little swag about you. Then you can move forward in some of these other ventures and understand that you're going to be successful because that's just who you are. And so that's been a big part for me.
What's the first step to get there? Like I'm a big believer in like just collecting small wins just for confidence.
Yeah.
Know that you can do it. I mean, do you have anything to add to that? Like what are some of the ways outside of, I mean, your confidence flows, right? You can already tell just from the moment you walked into this room, it wasn't always like that. What was your first step to rebuilding that confidence?
Right. I guess it would be what you just said. It's small wins. Just really taking everything day by day and I stopped looking at my end goal. I never look at end goals for anything. Even with my business, financially, I never look at where I'm trying to reach. I just look at milestones and every day just kind of accomplishing something as the win. Like, that was my finish goal. Today, I want to do X, Y, Z. I want to drink 100 ounces of water. I want to go and walk 4 miles. I need to return these calls. I need to accomplish this one thing. And I need to make sure that I'm not drinking booze when I get stressed out, right? Like, and then at the end of the day, I'm giving myself a pat on the back and like, I did it.
Yeah. What are some of those daily non-negotiables that you have with yourself to continue on this?
You're talking with the fire questions. What are the non-negotiables?
We are all about like I'm trying, like we learn a lot from our guests. I'm just hoping other people do, but we have a kick-ass time doing it by ourselves.
Health is always at the top of the line for me. So I start every single morning with 4 to 5 miles in a walk. That is a non-negotiable, period. And then I hold myself accountable to my checklist. So every night before I go to bed, I make a checklist of the tasks that have to be accomplished the next day. And I almost make it a game. I'm a very ADHD. I am very high functioning chaos. I am not a super orderly person, but if I have a checklist for myself, then I can hold myself accountable to that. So really those are the two things is I just make sure that I get up every day, I move my body, and that I check off my task. And my big priority right now is spending time with my family. That's the commodity that I know I can't get more of. And so for me, the non-negotiable is kind of playing the game of accomplishing, getting my walk in, getting my tasks done, so then I can spend the rest of the day doing the things that I want to do, which is spending time with my husband and my kids.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how long from, because you started flipping, you said 2019, right? Right around that time. So how did the process play play out to where you ended up with a TV show? Where was it just like things just fell in order, right place, right
Before I
time?
actually started flipping houses, I started my YouTube channel in 2018. About 2 months after I started my YouTube channel, I only had like 150 subscribers. A television producer, slid in my messages on Facebook, and I thought that it was fake. I thought it was like some creep trying to like holler at me, right? So I ignored him. And it turns out he was really a producer. So he was like, I love you. I love your style on YouTube. I really think you could be great talent on television, but I don't have a show right now that a network, wants. So I signed on with that production company as talent while they tried to come up with a proof of concept for a show. And they pitched many different show ideas to many different networks to try to sell, and nothing ever stuck. So that contract expired. It happened again to me about 6 months later, and nothing happened with that. And this was just me as a realtor. This had nothing to even do, because remember, this was 2018. I wasn't even flipping houses at that point. I was just a realtor. And so they just thought that I was a funny realtor on YouTube, and that's kind of what got my foot in the door. But then after that second contract expired, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing these sizzle reels and dropping everything to film this stuff for these production companies. Then I got reached out to in November of 2021 by the casting director of the existing production company that I work with, and he reached out, and I ignored him because I'm like, I'm not doing this again. And he got me on the phone and was like, man, you're hard to get in contact with. This is kind of what I've got. It's an existing show. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'll work with that. And so then we went through the casting process, went through a very long background check process. And so that was November 2021, and we started filming in June of 2022.
That's awesome. No. So was it everything that you thought it was going to be in regards to being like behind the scenes of the production? What were your expectations honestly, based off of what you actually saw?
I know how to create content. I understand what's real and what's not on TV. Like, I get all of that. What I didn't anticipate is how far television production companies will go to manipulate situations to make a television show. Like, how much the TV industry exploits people, that their end goal is to just get on TV. Like, mama, I made it. And they'll do anything to be on TV, ruin themselves financially, screw with their integrity. They will do those things just to stay on TV, and they'll let you, right? I didn't anticipate that, especially with a house flipping show. Like, it's house flipping. Like, it's not drama. Like, this isn't like a drunk lady show, like The Housewives or something. Like, it's house flipping, right? And so I did not expect that at all, that I was going to have to come the way that I come and approach it. And that aspect I do not like about the television industry.
Yeah. By no means is it anywhere close to the same scale, but I got a little bit of a voice on me, so I tried out for X Factor. Second season, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna make it. I was like, this is my chance, right? And I get there, I was like, I'm gonna be in front of Simon. Like, how awesome is that? I get there, we're standing outside of I forgot what college is out there. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm standing outside there. There are thousands of other people. I'm like, man, they all want to see Simon too. And I get in there, and they're like, yeah, you're not going to see him. It's like, what? There's obviously like the casting process, the audition process. So they pull me out of the crowd, and they were like, hey, like you got a particular look. I was young before I had I used to have a hairline, gauges and all that stuff. And they were like, hey, we want you to be just for like some B-roll footage. So they gave me a piece of paper, sat me on a bus stop. And I was like, what do I do? And they're like, sign your autograph. It's like, all right. So I'm signing my autograph. After that, I was like, do I have a line? They're like, yeah, say I'm practicing because I'm going to win this thing. And they've got me like all mic'd up. They're all across. They were like, yeah. My sister looks over at me. She was like, what you doing? And I'm like, practicing my autograph. And that was my claim to fame. I've done it.
We got to find that clip one day.
Mama, check it out. And it's on season 2, episode 1,
How
Los
cool is
Angeles.
that?
Looking it up after this.
yeah, absolutely. So I didn't know if you're kind of, just so you know who you're in the presence of. Yeah. But that was it was definitely not what I expected at all. And then it's so how is that like affected
Yeah.
business? I mean, obviously it was great promotion, and you've got another accolade
For
to add to your
business,
belt.
it actually, we took a financial hit, if I'm being honest, because of it. So you have to think,
Really?
if I'm flipping
Dang it.
houses, I have crews, and now my crews have television cameras in their face. And so the perception at that point is now we're making a lot more money. So our crews have turned over a lot because our guys are demanding more money. So that was something that I
Yeah.
didn't think would happen. The block is hot because you got 10 production vans. You got people standing outside in the middle of the road or in the neighbor's yard across the street. They're all just talking, waiting in between scenes and things like that. Neighbors get pissed off. What do? They call them folks on you. So now you're having to pull more permits because Texas is not a permit forward state like California is, or y'all got to pull permits if you sneeze. Like you fart in a house, like you need a permit. In Dallas or in Texas, like
Yeah.
that's not really a thing. So like you pull permits here when you get popped. You know what I'm saying? Like, and most suburbs don't even have city inspectors. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not a thing. But I mean, we've had to get a lot more permits pulled because they're pissing off neighbors and things like that. We have buyers that then will buy a house that they know that's been on television, and because a faucet is loose, even though they did an inspection, you know, but it's a tiny thing. You've got a electrical socket that needs to get screwed in more,
You
and
need
they're sending an
30,000
email.
off.
Right. Well, no, they're after the house is sold, then they almost try to extort us for repairs.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it's
Oh wow.
yeah.
They got
so
blue
like,
tape all over the place
we're,
now.
you know,
There's like, this is
just
broken.
having to be
Yeah.
extra careful with everything. So the exposure can be good, but it also can be bad because it's exposure. So now, I mean, you are just opened up to a lot more good and bad. But ultimately, I didn't know that it was going to be
Yeah.
as big of a time commitment as it's been, and that's where it kind of, some of the other things in my business had to drop off because this was such a big time commitment. So overall, I'm glad that I've done it. I want to
Yeah.
stay in this space, but now I know what questions to ask, what my contracts need to say, and how I need to function in this environment. Because it's interesting, man. Like
Yeah,
we're all
absolutely.
hustlers,
Yeah.
right? Like we're business people on here. Like we know people that are easily making 7 figures a month. And you just assume that in television that's what everyone's making, but it's very corporate. And these are people just jobs, and they're just yes people. And so they don't know how to consider what's happening in people's businesses, which is their livelihood, and they're just trying to make TV. And so it's been very interesting, like working with them. Like, I don't work for you. I ain't doing that. Like, I work for myself.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that just for TV. So it's been crazy, but I'm glad that I've done it, and I'm carving out my space the right way in this business, and they're all going to hear about me.
That's awesome. Hey, so everyone that we've spoke to so far, every guest we've
I
had, we
love
have
that.
really broad conversations, kind of, right, guys? So I'm really excited to talk to you since you're a real estate flipper, fix and flipper, and a realtor. I just wanted to ask about like the strategies you follow and how you find leads, what even qualifies as a lead. Maybe you could just speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what qualifies as a lead to me is a human being that breathes.
Okay. Boom.
Legitimately. A human being that breathes, and I can get your contact information, and you may or may not do business with me now or in the future. That's a lead, right? It's just how I nurture it that is going to take you from just being that phone number and that name to actually, you know, being someone that I can convert. And so I've always thought that way. When I got into real estate, I was so confused why people had such a hard time getting leads as a realtor, because every single person that you talk to in every single environment needs somewhere to live. And so whether they're renting, whether they own, whether they need to sell or buy, every single person, you're the grocery store, the cashier, you're at your kid's soccer game, every single person. So, I mean, it's one of those businesses that everyone you encounter is a potential lead. And so my approach to lead generation was really to just make sure that everyone knew I was an option so that I could get chosen. And I always try to attract people rather than chase them. I've never done any type of door knocking. I've never done any type of cold calling. What I would do is never. I always built out a client avatar, right? So who is my perfect client that I want to work with? And then from there, and I got very specific with who that client is, which I learned how to do that in my marketing gig. And so if you're building out who your perfect client is and you don't feel like you're excluding a lot of people, you're doing it wrong, because if you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing to no one. And so I would drill that down. And then the next thing that I would do is create a list of where they go and what problems they have. And it's as simple as that. Common sense. Where they go? Are they at the barbershop? Are they at the beauty salon? Or do they have little kids? If they have kids, are they at the YMCA? Are they with local little leagues? Like, where are they? And then what problems do they have? And those problems can pertain to real estate or not. But really, what are the problems that they're having in their life? And then I would try to figure out how to meet them where they are. So in the spaces that they went, with the solutions to the problems that they had. And so I'll give you an example. I ran as a realtor, and then I end up getting a lot of leads for this as a flipper, but I ran, my client avatar when I was selling houses was like young families, people of color, certain age group, certain, price point, and how much money they have in the bank and credit score, but nonetheless, they had little kids. And so I went to local area school districts, and I asked the school districts for list of the presidents of each of their campuses for the different organizations. So PTA president, band booster club president, drill team booster club president, athletic booster club president. And then I blasted out campaigns to all of those people that said, hey, I'm a local realtor in the area. If any of your friends, family, parents happen to need real estate services, then I will make a charitable donation in the amount of blank out of my commissions to the organization of your choice, which I had to do all of that to get around any RESPA type violation. So this is a charitable donation, and it's to any organization. Obviously, they're going to choose their organization, right? And I started getting referrals like crazy from school districts. Again, yeah. And so, I just got very creative.
That's fire.
Bro, that's game.
I did. I got very creative. Even on the flipping side, like when we first started, we were spending probably $3,000 a month on our ad management, and then another $3,000 on the ad spend. And my husband's like, $6,000 a month, that's steep. How can we get leads for these distressed sellers without doing that? And so he came to me, Miss Marketing, and I'm like, all right, driving for dollars is a big way that people get leads, right? But we obviously don't want to drive around. Who's driving all day? Rideshare drivers. So why don't we run some sort of campaign with rideshare drivers and figure out how we can incentivize rideshare drivers and get a fleet of rideshare drivers to get us leads? And so we did. It was a very intricate marketing plan, but we essentially gave gas stipends to rideshare drivers, any houses that had overgrown yards, any conversations that they overheard. They had a Google form, and then we eventually went to Jot forms that they could go to this link, fill out the information about the house, the address, and if we acquired it on top of their gas stipend, then they would get a referral fee, essentially, for referring that lead to us at acquisition, at closing. And they got additional gas stipends if they let us put marketing material in the car with QR codes and things like that on the backs of the seats so the passengers could reach out to us. So then sometimes we'd have passengers reaching out to us. At the height of that, we had 40 different drivers that were doing rideshare that were involved in that program. And so then instead of spending $6,000 a month running Facebook ads, we were only spending about $2,000 a month in the weekly stipends for gas.
Woo, gems.
That's freaking genius. That's freaking genius, and I think that attests to your creativity as well, because you do have to think outside the box, right? A lot of I work with a lot of realtors, and a lot of what they're being taught on the inside the local teams is like, hey, the power of the cold call. Go knock on the door, knock until your fingers are bleeding, pound the pavement, all of that stuff, and being in the social media side of things, like. Just post, make yourself relevant, right? You have to have a presence for and I use this analogy all the time. Like I'm thinking of, me in the back of an Uber, all of a sudden I see your QR code, right? I'm in the position to want to purchase a home. I click your QR code, I go and I see all of your followers. I see that you've got a great brand, right? Because you know who you're talking to. And I want to touch on the client avatar real quick, because that is something that people definitely do miss, right? Because a lot, if you write content only to that one person, if nobody else likes it, you're still talking to that person, right? Every single time. Right. Hey, if you didn't like it, it wasn't meant for you. I wasn't talking to you. right? I was looking for, you know, I don't know, a 6 foot tall Puerto Rican guy who's in the market to like, you can get that specific, you know, like I know these are your shopping habits. There's a I don't know if this is real or not, but they say that Facebook knows when women are pregnant, just based off of the way that their usage changes, which is so crazy. Yeah, kind of interesting. But so where did you learn to get this creative? Is it just, I mean, is that just like your ADHD brain, just like, oh, there's an idea, right?
ADHD
Caught it, hold on to it.
Man, I've always been like this. Like I've just always thought outside of the box, and I've always just been able to figure it out. Like even when I was in high school, I was 13. I'm from East Texas in Texarkana, and we had a curfew ordinance. And when I was 13, I snuck out of the house, snuck out of my window, went to the park, was doing some stuff I didn't have any business doing. Cops came. It's like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Cop takes me home, and I sell this cop in the car on almost stopping and letting me out a block away from home and just watching me, you know, climb back into my window, and I almost talk him into it. And he's like, no, I can't do that, because if I had a daughter, I want to know. But I'm going to take you home, but you hang back. Don't come up yet. So I'm standing back. He knocks on the door. My parents come to the door, and he, you know, is like, she was just out with her friends. They're just having fun. I wasn't out with friends. I was doing something I didn't have any business doing, and he lied for me, right? And he's like, but go easy on her. So long story short, my mom gets a curfew violation ticket. And even back then, being 13, as I was waiting to go and see the judge to, you know, determine if my mom had to pay this ticket or not, I gathered, you know, character statements, all of my report cards. I went to the library and got on Yahoo and pulled up some articles about how curfew ordinances weren't relevant and how they didn't work against crime or for kids. And I had all of this in a manila folder, and we went in front of the judge. He started talking, and I presented it to him, and he just stopped everything he was doing and looked at my mom and said, like, do you know what you have here? Long story short, she got out of the ticket. He made me prosecuting attorney on teen court, and I then was able to, yes, we had something called teen court. He was like, I want to nurture this with you. So I became prosecuting attorney at teen court. So anyone that was a teenager that got a MIP, a minor in possession, a curfew violation ticket or whatever, I sealed their fate on how much community service they got. So then I started using that as social currency to get freaking Fruitopia and lunch money and shit, right? So I've just always had that brain.
Fruitopia.
And I've always just been able to just like think quickly on my feet and like figure out a way around a problem. And I just think that that's everyone's the biggest problem. And I say it all the time, you know, as Americans, we're not really taught to be business owners. From the time that we're in like first grade and they start teaching us math, and you have a math problem, they tell you what you need to solve about it, the method in which you need to solve it, and then they make you prove it to them that you use that method by showing your work, or else you get points taken off. And so then we grow up having been told what the problem is and exactly how to solve it and in what time frame to solve it. And then we want to become entrepreneurs where it's all about figuring out the problems and solving them on your own, and you can't. And I just always bucked the system, and I was always that kid that was like, well, why I gotta solve it like that? Well, I can solve it like this, and here's the answer, lady. And so I really think that a part of that is just in you, and that's something that's very difficult to teach to others.
Yeah, you must have been hard to like argue with as a child too. Like my mom's arguments had to be Loctite with me. Like, you know what you just said? You know, there's room for some interpretation there. Get it Loctite. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah. So I mean, is that something? I know you said that like family time and balancing, like
correct.
That's what you're working for. That's why you do everything, right? To be able to go wherever you want. I mean, is that like kind of like the same mentality that you're instilling
100%.
as well, where it's like, hey, just think outside the box. You don't have to, you know, yeah. What are some of the ways that you do that?
Things that are business oriented, so vending machines, photo booths, you know, little things like that to kind of nurture them, starting to kind of think outside the box. During COVID, I did some homeschooling with them, and I made them follow stocks. And whoever's stock performed the best at the end of the school year, they had to track it weekly, and they had to create graphs and all of that. And whoever's performed the best, then I actually gave them money that was valued at what their stock purchases were worth, and they got the real money. I try to teach a lot of money and financial skills to my children, but then I also, I let them be their own people, and have their own thoughts, because I think that is very, very, very important. And my husband and I, neither one of us have a degree. And we do all of this on GP.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm super interested because I know that this kind of thinking, this solution-based thinking and this creative-based thinking, it sounds like it started really on, and it sounds like it's something you've not only developed in your family, but you developed in yourself. Is there a time when you kind of knew that maybe your thinking was different, and maybe you were destined for something more? You were destined for greatness, and you had that inside of you, and you didn't know what to do? And how did you kind of move past that hurdle in your life, and how did you keep developing what was something inside of you that seemed different from other people?
I would say that instead of shying away from it, I kind of ran towards it. So I think our natural instinct when we're different and people kind of call out our differences, sometimes that makes a lot of us kind of change and blend in with the crowd. But I never wanted to. I always I embrace that side of it. And even though it was scary, I embraced it. And I, now that I say it, I probably need therapy at this point. Because when I think about it, my whole life has been spent being kind of the black sheep. I was one of 5 black kids that graduated from my high school, my graduating class. It just was not diverse at all. So I was kind of the literal black sheep in that situation. And instead of, it being kind of a woe is me and I'm the minority, I was like, oh shit, I'm the black girl. I already stand out. I can use this to even elevate myself higher. So even from that age, I think I understood the power of just being, and the power of my true self. And I've always just harnessed it. And my mom, I can probably attribute some of that to her, because when I was younger, that's what she told me. There's one thing that no one can ever control about you, and that's what's between your ears. And she always would say that to me, no one can control it. And I've just kind of built my life and my business just kind of based around that. So, I hope that answered it, but yeah, I don't know. I've just always been like this. Yeah. I'm just crazy.
That's a great answer. Yeah, that's a great answer. Yeah, no one can control it. Is true. I can't even control it. I'm still trying to. I got ADHD too. Yeah, I can barely.
Yes.
Yeah, my brain works faster than my mouth does. But yeah, and so, Joe, I know you had some questions. I know Joe was super excited to jump on this.
I was just letting you guys do your thing. Tell the story first.
Go ahead, brother. Fire away.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, it seems like you've been super creative and thinking outside the box throughout your life. Have you ever looked into creative finance in real estate, or did anything in that sense, sub 2 or seller finance type of deals?
I've tried.
Yeah.
I've tried, and I honestly, I can't wrap my head around it. Mm-hmm. It's very hard for me to understand.
Yeah.
And so I probably should do a little bit more, since I am very solutions based, and I know that's just another tool in the toolbox. But if we're speaking candidly, I make a lot of money with flipping the houses, and I've been comfortable in that space, and I haven't really explored it beyond trying to understand it and then getting extremely confused.
Right. I hear you.
But in sub 2 and creative finance, man, I wish people would be more honest about the fact that it is intricate. It's a lot of freaking moving pieces.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of everyone throwing sub 2 out it's the solution to everything. It's
right.
not. Bro, I don't need your sub 2 offer. This is a flip. I'm selling this for a profit. I have a hard money loan on it. I can't. Well, would you still like this offer? No, Mr. Sub 2. So my experience, honestly, hasn't been great, because I haven't worked with a lot of people that are actually good at it.
Right.
It's just been the people that are trying to get rich overnight with it, and that's just never a good idea.
if they're trying to
Yeah.
sub to a
It's
hard money
definitely a
loan,
tainted
they
name
definitely
for
don't know
sure.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you get a lot of those calls
Yes.
being
We
a
get
realtor
so many
and a
of those
flipper?
on
Like,
listings, on our flips. Like, it's wild. And I'm like, I don't think you know what you're doing. I don't know how to do it either, but I don't think this is right. And
so how would someone like us approach you? Where it's just like a nice way to be like, hey, I know you've already
approach
got a
me.
call like this. Like, it's another one of me.
don't approach me. What the fuck? No deal. No.
Shit, don't lose my number.
Don't do it.
I mean, like, hey,
That's
Chauncey,
hilarious.
I don't want to disrespect you with a low cash offer, but I do have other strategies, though. I do purchase real estate, and do you have time to speak about some other strategies? I don't know.
No.
I'm just kidding. It's like, no, click.
I don't. I need to sell this
Do you want to
house.
represent me? I'll
That's
let you
awesome.
represent me too.
So what got you
There
into
you go. Now we'll talk.
Now we're talking.
Now we're talking.
So
Hey.
I definitely want to talk about the academy side of things, because flipping is people talk about flipping homes all the time, and it's everywhere. So much so that there are
Right.
zillions of TV shows about it. Right? I have a favorite. It's
Zombie
this
Household
one show. It's called
Zombie Flippers? That's me and my
whatever, but,
girls. I swear.
Yeah. Well, we have a-
Yeah.
Like that. I like that.
Joe
Zombie Household,
literally,
do
he
you
was
watch
like, "That's all my
Dallas?
lady and I
Like,
watch."
have you watched Dallas?
He was like,
Or
"Oh
did you
yeah,
watch
yeah."
Orlando? Okay.
No, I don't think I've seen yours, to be honest. But
Okay. Yeah.
I do like that show. A lot of A&E, like house flipping shows or Home
Yeah.
Network. Yeah.
Yes.
But I definitely want to
Definitely
talk
gonna watch
about
it,
that, because flipping is anybody with two commas
Yeah.
in their net worth has real estate inside of their portfolio somewhere. So what kind of person, what kind of characteristics? Because it isn't for everybody. I know that for sure. But like, what does your ideal client look
in
like?
terms
Like,
of
who are you talking to?
students for Flipside. So we
Yeah.
focus with Flipside Flipping Academy on people that are financially ready to flip. So one thing that, if you guys want to see me get on my soapbox, one thing that grinds my gears and makes me want to gouge out my eyeballs is when gurus tell people that you don't need any money to flip houses. Drives me insane, because it is categorically untrue. It's a lie. Like, it's just not true. So the first thing that I would say, you need to have your money right. And I would say that because right now the cost of labor is so expensive and the cost of materials is so expensive, and with acquisition costs and all of the money that you're going to need up front to flip, the first thing that we're looking for with people is that you have $60,000 to $75,000 that you don't need to see for the next 5 to 6 months. If that's not you, then we're not the ones for you. And so that's the first characteristic. So just having kind of that money financially. Secondly, you can't really be risk averse. This business is all about risk. But it's also about learning how to take the right risk. And understanding the return on those different risks. And so we've had a couple of people kind of reach out to us like, hey, I got the 75,000, but like, I don't, like, can you guarantee I'm not gonna lose anything? I can't guarantee shit. Like, I don't even know if you're gonna be alive tomorrow, bro. Like, no.
Yeah.
So people that, are not risk averse, that have cash.
Yeah.
And then also people that can trust the process. We've had a couple of people try to jump into this, and with flipping, it's like literally watching sausage get made. And if you ever watched like someone make something like sausage, it's disgusting, and the process is terrifying, but the end product, like, you're still gonna eat it. And a lot of people just freak out in the middle of the process.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult to teach people when that's them. And so really those are the three biggest things. So be coachable and teachable, and don't freak out. You cannot be risk averse, and you got to have your money up. If you are those three things, then our program is amazing for you. And so can I chat a little bit about that and just what that looks like? So essentially
Yeah,
Flipside
Yeah.
is, we have three different things. So we have once a month, just $375, like 2-hour classes where people can come to any of our properties or whichever one that we have set up for that day. And we just let them ask questions about anything that they want, hands-on inside of a flip at whatever construction phase that we're at, and we just explain it all to them, from design to project management to the construction schedule to the financing part, everything. $375 to just come. That's our top of funnel mechanism. We get people in there, and then we use that to, of course, then nurture them into our second step, which is our week-long process, which is called Flipside Submersive. So you are literally, or Flipside Immersive, you are immersed in our world for 5 days, 6 to 8 hours a day for 5 days. We take you on set. We take you to every project. You are, involved in all of the emails, all of the decisions, all of the problems. And again, that kind of goes to our like teaching you on the spot and in real time. And because we have so many projects going at one time, then you're getting to see, projects in varying stages of construction. So that's our immersive program. And then the last one, which has been kicking ass inadvertently this year, which is our turnkey program, is for the folks that maybe you have a good job, maybe you got a little bit of retirement money, maybe you're a business owner and you don't know what to do with this $75,000 that you have. We do a full turnkey flipping service for you. So you come to us, you got the money, we get you in with the lender and get you the loan. We write up your scope of work. We do the design, we do the project management, materials procurement, the construction, we stage it, we list it, and you give 100% of the profits. We just make money in every single step of that process. So I help you find the deal. I'm going to wholesale you the deal, make a little bit off of that. I am the hard money lender, so I'm going to make money on that. I am doing the construction. I'm making money on that. I have a design fee built in. One of my agents is going to list the house, so I'm making money on the listing. I'm marking up on the staging. So you're still going to walk away with your $40,000, $50,000, profit. But you got to have this managed by people that have proven to do it well and are doing it hell on television. And so, you have that trust factor. You can watch and be a part of it and learn, or you can be totally hands off. Either way, that's a way for, people to take it and really double up on their money. And so that's kind of what our academy does is, again, it's a lot of hands-on training. Again, one session, 1 week, or we do the whole flip for you.
That also attests to your creativity again, where you're just like, hey, you can keep everything, but I'm gonna, I got other pockets I'm dipping into here, right, and other forms.
Bro, that's wild.
You've already said like 3 or 4 strategies on this podcast that I've never, I am on YouTube a lot, searching around. I've never heard, or even like in the real world, talking to real people doing this. I've never heard of anyone doing it like you do it, as far as finding leads and different strategies like that. That's awesome. Chauncey's awesome. Nah, she's dope. Yeah.
I told you she's the best. I told you
I'm
bringing on a star.
too, one of these days soon.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Look at her setting business out.
Joe doesn't take any loan. Yeah, Joe doesn't accept any loan under 35% interest.
What?
Right, Joe? Joe's from
I'm gonna need,
California,
like,
so he's
9.
right about that.
9 or 10.
No, we just, for me, and again, because I think my focus right now is on family and my time, and understanding that my time is the biggest commodity in my life, right? Because I can't get that shit back. I can make more money. I can't make more time. And so for us, we wanted to figure out, and that's kind of how we work, is how can we make more money without doing more things? And the best way to do that is to make more money in the process of the things that you're already doing. And so I did this exercise where I wrote down a real estate transaction.
Yeah.
And a real estate transaction at the nucleus of it is typically me, a realtor. And I wrote down every single person or role that makes money in a real estate transaction. And I think when I wrote it down, I came up with like 50, right? So everything, title, inspectors, house stagers, like I just went down the list of all of the different people that make money, right? And if I can figure out a way, if I could still sell the same amount of houses, but I'm making a little bit of money on all of these other services, then I'm working the same or even less and I'm making more. And we kind of put that same strategy in with house flipping. Cool, I'm flipping houses, but like, I don't want to flip more. I don't want more exposure out there with my money. Like, I don't want to say just to say that I'm flipping 50 houses a year. Like, great, but that's a lot of fucking exposure. How can I still just flip maybe like 10 or 12 big ones, but then get 50, 75% more on what I'm making because now I'm making money in this process. And so that's kind of how Flipside was born. And it's like, well, hey, we can be in the learning space. We can still do what we love, which is the construction and the design and the creativity, without having all of that exposure out there. Oh, and by the way, we're just going to make money throughout the entire process. And then once that process is perfected, then I'm going to license that process out to other contractors and other people that want to do this. And now I'm going to make money off of that too. So it's just kind of continuing to build on all of it.
Nice.
It's crazy.
That's
To
awesome.
me, it sounds like you're what I like to call like a systematic killer. You know what I mean? You have a process, right? You started flipping homes, so that means, but you started making off money on it on a ton of different avenues, right? So you got the people that you teach, you got the actual house that you're flipping, you've got the real estate that you're doing just by yourself, you've got the TV show, and then within the teaching, you have different platforms that you're making money on, because there's 3 different levels, right? So you've made up these systems to become a systematic killer, and I'm sure you've done this kind of over time. For somebody looking to be able to do that within their own business, what was the process of you building that up to become so well versed, right? Because you can take just the ideas and the fundamentals of how you broke it down in your business and how somebody else can transition to that into their business.
I would say, I guess the way that I did it is I would start something and perfect it and actually build a system out of it. And I think that's the step that most people are missing. A lot of people get into stuff and they're good at it. They can sell houses, they can wholesale well, they can get a lot of deals, but they never make a process out of it. And one of my mentors, Jay Kender, he always told me, if there's no process, there's no business. You just created a job for yourself. So make sure that whatever you're doing,
Guilty.
right? So he's like, make a system. He was like, I don't care what it is. If it's fucking like sending an email, like what's the system of that? So that you can eventually like step out of that. And so I was always big on, okay, I'm going to do this one thing, but then I'm going to break it down into as many pieces as I can and create a system so that if I'm not here, I can hand it to you and you can do it without me. And so I do that with every single thing that I do. And then I take that and then I build another layer onto it. And so, okay, now I'm good at this thing and I have this system, and this system is made up of 10 other things. So then technically now I can make 10 more systems out of each of the systems that made this thing. And then it just kind of keeps going and going and going.
Yeah.
You're not convincing me that you have ADHD.
Brent maybe, but yeah.
Okay, so here's where my ADHD comes in.
Oh, no,
I
definitely. I got a double
build all
dose.
of this out, but I'm horrible at implementing it.
You don't seem very horrible.
My husband
Is that where your husband is
my
very?
husband's the quiet guy. My husband's he's the engine behind the machine. So I'm the one that like wakes up at 3:00 in the morning, like, hey, guess what? We got to do this. And then like I can literally like whiteboard it out, and I'm like, okay, this is the business. This is how we scale it. This is what we do here. This is what. And he's like, all right. And he punches holes in it. And he's like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? Well, what about this? All right, cool. And then he builds out the back end and actually gets it implemented.
Huh. That's kind of like me and Brent.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's why I keep. Yep, exactly. Exactly. Well, I used to work at so I managed a Verizon. Joe was my assistant manager for the longest time, and I was in the process of here let me teach you.
Okay,
right, I came up with this process. I didn't come up with it. I was taught. Like, yeah, it was I do. And mind you, like, I was 22, 23, managing people who are older than me. I was like, man, like, look at us, we're getting commission. Nonetheless, yeah, it was, yeah, I thought life was made. But, yeah, what was my process? I do, you watch, we do, you do, I watch, then you do. Somewhere along the line, it became Joe do.
I do.
By that process. Like,
Joe.
I'm confused.
So was I.
It's basically like
I'm gonna just
I
do my
do
thing,
it,
Brent. Just go.
I do it, you watch me
Go hang
do
out in
it.
the office.
Then, yeah, we're gonna do it. Honestly, it was more like, hey, corporate told me to kind of just tell you to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out for a smoke break real quick. I'll be right back, and come back with like 2 burgers. Yeah, exactly.
But he would get me a burger too. So.
But I
Appreciate that.
having ADHD. Yeah, you bet I did. $12.47 per
burgers,
burger,
fire.
bro. Those were kebab, Mediterranean. But yeah, I've had
Yeah.
to just like build up safe walls for myself where it's like, hey, don't
Yeah.
do this. Like my phone's got timers on it. Like
Yeah.
you've been on TikTok for too long. You've been on Instagram for too long. Like I know.
Yeah.
Ignore for 15.
Well, I mean, that's
you
what my
know,
brain wants
shut
too.
up.
It's
You know?
constantly going. Everyone that I talk to,
Yeah.
I'm always like coming up with business ideas. It's the wildest thing. Like my brain is always going and coming up with business, but I have to have someone. So I'm glad that I have my husband to actually take it and then like implement it and tell me when it's wackadoodles. Like we could do a whole podcast on Chauncey's crazy business ideas, and your mind's blown.
Next episode on Get Off.
There you go. Hey, that's a series right there.
On this podcast, we have like kind of some
Okay.
broad questions that we ask people every time that we come on. And I'm kind of interested on this question for you. So success is obviously defined like at different stages of your career, like at different points is different things. What does success mean to you right now?
Oh.
And what did it mean at the beginning?
Good
And
question.
how has it kind of changed over time?
Success now means time freedom. Success now means time freedom. Success now means freedom to be who I am. Freedom in one word is success to me right now. When I first started, success was money. And I was chasing money instead of freedom. And money is fleeting, right? Like it can come, it can go. But freedom, once it's there, man, like it's just a whole different ball game. So I would say in the beginning, after we got that first taste, right? We had just gotten the tip on that first hotel deal, and I'm like, damn, I can make like $70,000 like this fast, like that's insane. Then we kept chasing that. But after a while, like once you've done it, then it's like, all right, cool. Now what? Like I've got to figure out a way to not have to keep chasing things. And so for us now, it is all about freedom. I want to travel. I want to live abroad. I want to show my kids that there are different ways of life and that like hustle mentality is not all what it's cracked up to be. That's the era that I grew up in, right? Like I'm a salesperson. I'm a hustler. Like I get a high off of closing a deal. But now I get a high off of being able to say no and being okay with that now. Nope, I don't want to do that. I ain't doing that. I don't care how much it's paying. I don't want to do it. I'm good.
Chauncey,
That's
you're
my
awesome.
high now. That's my high.
You are awesome, Chauncey. Hey,
Bro,
so
that's
where can
next
people find
level.
you? And last question too:
Yeah.
What does Get Off Go mean to you?
Ooh, get off, go. I mean, it means what it says. Get up off your ass and go. That's what I took from it. Unless you guys meant it a different way. Like to me, it's just a get up off your ass and go. Don't think too much. Fail forward. Again, let's go back to what I said before. Stop being a coward. Go conquer something so you can have some confidence and have some gumption about yourself. And so that's what Get Off Go means to me. And people can find me at chaunceypham.com.